Well, greetings and salutations, one and all, to the one and only Career Retrospectives right here on the Super Review Show Network. I am joined by my two incredible music aficionado friends, Kyle and Mike. How are you both doing tonight?
What's up,
Yo,
guys?
yo, what's up? What's
Yo,
up?
how about some Panic or Blink-182 or something? I don't know what we're talking about. No, I'm just kidding. No, as the title of our podcast suggests, alludes to, whatever. We're doing great already, guys. Don't worry. So we spun the wheel last week on a career discography breakdown, as Mike likes to point out my horrible pronunciation of that word. We're doing a career discography breakdown tonight of Panic at the Disco, the pop punk turned emo turned pop rock, whatever you want to call it. They side project. We're going to be breaking down and talking about Panic at the Disco tonight here on the Super Show's Career Retrospectives. They full on all 7 albums, where the band was at in their lifetimes and all that other stuff too, how it entered our lives. We're going to get into all that tonight. But I'm going to go first because this was my pick, of course, on the wheel. Yippee! I'm excited to do this one, truthfully, because this is a band or I hate calling it a side project or a solo project because he was the only member of the band at one point, Brendan Urie, the lead singer. But no, Panic at the Disco. It's funny. I'm gonna date myself now. I was 10. It was 10 years ago, 2015, and I was really into a lot of my core stuff that I normally love, mainly classic rockers, things like that. But then all of a sudden, this little album named Death of a Bachelor came out, and all my friends were listening to it, and I was like, huh, let me give this a shot. And sure enough, I was blown away. To this day, I still am blown away by that record. And that album, Death of a Bachelor, made me realize, oh, there's a quote unquote new band called Panic at the Disco out there. And I went back and dove into their whole catalog of songs, starting with "A Fever You Can't Sweat Out," and I went up until the "Pray for the Wicked" era in 2018. At that point, we did our reviews of 2 of their records already. So if you haven't already checked, before we get any further, make sure you check out our initial. When Kyle and I first started doing this one in 2022, we talked about Death of a Bachelor at one point, just on our own show. So you want to go back and listen to that? Go back and scroll through Spotify until you find it, or search, or whatever you gotta do. Then we also reviewed Viva Vengencence in 2022. So we've been around the Panic world and familiar with a lot of it for a while now. At least I have. I know Kyle has different. Maybe is a little bit older than me. He may have a little bit of a different take on them as a band. But for me personally, it was 2015. All I was listening to was Death of a Bachelor, and that made me go back and discover who they were as a band. And go back and then get excited to go see them on the Pray for the Wicked tour. I'm wearing, those you watch this live, good for you, but I'm wearing my Pray for the Wicked t-shirt that I got from the show that I saw. Great times. Really fun band overall. Excited to be here. But yeah, that's my little introduction for the band and whatnot too. Kyle is probably the pop punk guy here, of course, as you may have guessed already. Kyle, what is your introduction to the band before we go into our discography breakdown?
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of Panic at the Disco since "A Fever You Can't Sweat Out." That was a massive album back in the day. I want to say I was in 6th grade or so when that came out, something like that. I remember it fondly in middle school. Very nostalgic band for me in a lot of ways. Very polarizing at times, depending on where we're at in their career, which we'll get into.
Yes.
But I've been a fan, been following them since they came out. So it's an exciting one here.
Awesome. And Mike hates them. No, I'm just kidding. He doesn't hate. No, Mike, where are you with Panic at the Disco? I mean, you're like a casual fan. You despise them. What do you got?
As everybody knows, it's definitely not in my wheelhouse. Definitely not the style of music I choose to really like. I mean, let's face it, this band is pretty much High School the Musical, the band, in my eyes.
It sure is.
Yeah. So, and I've never been a fan of like the Disney kind of like very like theatrical kind of like, style music, quirky, for lack of a better word, lyrically, kind of like trying to be funny, with like that time. I've just never been that style of like music. So during my listens, I get they like have tried to gain identity through picking different styles of music and kind of releasing an album under that theme while simultaneously blending their style in. But like that's the problem with their style, and it does become a little too overbearing, and you kind of lose some of the the elements that exist because of the presentation. So that's always put me off about them, is Brandon Urie kind of beats the Brandon Urie show. And when he's not doing that, when he's subdued and in more of a support role that allows the music to kind of exist without it's just like triple tracked harmonizing with himself, falsetto, that's so loud that like you wouldn't be sure what you're listening to. It becomes a deafening kind of presentation that just beats me to death. So I've always been turned off on, but there are glimmers of hope. There's are glimmers of moments of songwriting that show promise, and I think as a vehicle to deliver a song, there have been some successful trips that I feel like existed throughout their time. It's just, once again, will they allow the band to be the band and not be Brandon Urie and friends? That's the question.
That is the $1 million. Well, maybe not $1 million. That's our big question as we go into our career discography breakdown for Panic at the Disco. Anything else, guys, before we dive right into it, shall we?
Now let's get into it.
Let's get into it. All right. Their first album, as Kyle may remember, September 27th, 2005, was A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. I was voluntold to go first on this round, so I figured why not? There we go. No, but needless to say, this is whenever a band first jumps on the scene or an artist first jumps on the scene, typically they're influenced by their what affects them the most at the time, whether it be something like you hear evolutions of some bands over time where they maintain a similar sound or similar style, but as we go through, I just want to echo this completely, but basically saying they started on this record. They started out so emo, so pop punk. Even as someone who didn't really listen to their album like fully until we decided to do this and to land on My Choice, I was listening to a lot of their stuff. I'm like, my God, this is crazy. How they went from this to this, and the evolution of this band. It's like picking your favorite child or picking your favorite era of music, and you could probably listen to a Panic at the Disco album at the same time. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, this is just this album. But with A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, I really, man, it's not something I expected, but it's definitely something unique on its own. For a second, I'm just scrolling down to the track listing for those of you who would like to tune into us. This today's standards in 2025, the album is 20 years old. I would say that this is now considered a pop punk classic by today's standards, because this is around the same time when American Idiot came out, into Green Day's American Idiot. Even we did Sum 41 a while ago. Sum 41's Underclass Hero was kind of around the same time, if not mistaken. Or that was 2006. Yeah, this was 2006-7. Yeah, so this kind of fit into the mold of the time. I say, oh my God, there's a new band. It's called Panic at the Disco. And sure enough, they really, initially, without even listening to it, and I just looked at the titles. I'm like, is this a Fall Out Boy, Take This to Your Grave ripoff? Like, when I first, because I never heard the album until we did. Outside of I've Read Sins Not Tragedies, I never heard the full album until we decided to do this. Going back and listening to it though, and I'm like, what in the hell? Like, it's really, really solid pop punk for early 2000s, mid 2000s. Does it hold up? I think it does. I think a lot of these songs, especially, I take I Write Sins Not Tragedies out of it being the hit that it was. I think that this album just definitely has a lot of really solid tracks on it. I mean, including I Write Sins Not Tragedies, but I think it's better. But it's better if you do. Time to Dance, man, I forgot how hard that goes. That one goes so hard on this album. Man. But then looking at some of the titles, like there's a good reason these tables are numbered, honey. You just haven't thought of it yet. Like, or the only difference between March Ram and Suicide is press coverage. Like the longest titles always got to me for whatever reason. And it's like try and say, but the song has nothing to do with the title. It's just the title of the song. It's kind of weird. Yeah, no, but this is a really what I would consider to be a pop punk classic. I mean, I don't know what Kyle has to say about this, but I think it's a solid start to a career that for a band that seemed promising at the time. I mean, Kyle, what do you think about A Fever You Can't Sweat Out?
Yeah, at the time I really loved this album. I Write Sins Not Tragedies was mine, as well as I would say almost everyone that got into them back in the day. First experience with the band, and loved that song back then. But I gotta be honest, if I never heard I Write Sins Not Tragedies again, I would be totally fine. I find myself turning this song off every time it's on now. It's a great song, but it has been played to death, and it didn't stop. Sometimes there are songs, and I always use this analogy because it's a perfect example for me. There are certain songs that will get played to death for a certain amount of time, and you can't listen to them for a while. But then people forget about it and stop playing it. For example, Green Day's 21 Guns. When that song came out, it was all over the radio. I couldn't listen to it for years. Since then, it stopped being played. On the flip side, you have those songs like Green Day's Boulevard of Broken Dreams or I Write Sins Not Tragedies that have never gone away from the mainstream consciousness. So whether it's the radio still, or just like even nowadays, like TikTok and Instagram Reels, I come across it, or you go to any emo night, it's constantly there.
Yep.
It's annoying at this point. But anyway, on to the rest of the songs. This is a very front-loaded album for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think the introduction is pointless, to be honest. But I mean, the only difference between I'm not going to go into all that. Great song. Again, the full first half all the way to intermission is awesome. After that, I think it does lose some steam. Not counting I Write Sins Not Tragedies if it wasn't so played out. Now, at the time, I said it was absolutely great. Does it hold up? I think it depends on how we're talking here. When listening to this, it absolutely sounds like it was from the mid-2000s. 100%, no way around it. It sounds dated. It doesn't sound like something that was made today, which depends how you look at it. I'm fine with that. I think it's good. I do think that nostalgia does a lot of heavy lifting on how much I still enjoy this record. I won't hide that. But I think it's very enjoyable. It's definitely unique in, the sound that it's going for, with like the Baroque, burlesque, pop punk, circusy theme going on throughout. It's definitely unique. You can't take that away from it. But it's an interesting start to their career, and it's still a great album to me.
Mike, you're the pop punk guy. I mean, sorry, you're the semi pop punk guy. No, what do you, any redeeming quality for the debut album? What do you got?
Well, the only redeeming quality of this album is that it's a rock album. As time went by, obviously rock became, just kind of wore out its welcome in the Panic Disco kind of universe. So, and I think you'll notice that with a lot of their music later on. Obviously, it's got moments of rock sprinkled in, but like that's really the only redeeming quality for the album, in my opinion. There's I noticed in an article it said Brandon Urie suffers from ADHD. This album feels like an ADHD kind of like marathon of just like it's just all over the place. It's just random techno thing. Like random falsettos and like changes in direction, and it's just so jarring, so tough to get through because it feels like somebody who just can't slow down and like stop for a second. It's just cramming everything into you and bashing it up against you and saying like, pay attention to this. It's like unique and it's got lots of different little twists and quirks and weird things going on. But in the end, it just does too much, too fast, and then just not enough substance behind it. So it really, as I kind of rediscovered this album, I never listened to it first, but I rediscovered like the album that I Write Sins Not Tragedies came from, which I mean everyone knows that song. It kind of became evident that an entire album of that was just too much for me to handle, versus like just having one song and being done. Yeah, it definitely was not an enjoyable experience. Let's call it that. So yeah.
And really quick before we guess each other's where it ranks on our list, Kyle, correct me if I'm wrong. Brendan Urie has gone on record and said he does not like I Write Sins Not Tragedies, correct?
I mean, he doesn't like playing it. He only sings like half the song live and then lets the crowd sing the rest of it. But I mean,
I remember that. Yeah.
You know, I'm sure it's just one of those things where you're expected to play it every time you perform. You start to get sick of it. And like I said, not even that. You're hearing it on the radio all the time. So I wouldn't blame the guy.
Yeah, because I remember, I saw them once in 2018, and I remember like the first half of the song, if not most of the song, the crowd was singing the whole thing. It was kind of like crazy. And I remember, unfortunately, I was the guy there who, it might seem like a hot take for some people. I'm actually, because it's been overplayed so much, and also for whatever reason, like this, you know how like when a song starts, it normally kicks something into your brain. For whatever reason, this one just did not do it for me. Like I respect its greatness. I understand it's a big hit. I understand it's 20 years old and it's still like a massive part of a lot of people's childhood. But for whatever reason, like this outside, like this is not, maybe because it wasn't the song of the album that got me into them, if that makes sense. Like I could not get into like this one song that I remember people around me being like, why do you like Death of a Bachelor? Why don't you like A Fever You Can't Sweat Out? I'm like, well, I never heard of A Fever You Can't Sweat Out until Death of a Bachelor came out. So they kind of like had their moment that way. But I don't know. We'll get to that in a little bit. But anyways, I'm going to guess that Kyle has this at number 2. And I'm going to guess that Mike has it at number 4. I wonder if I'm right.
All right.
Kyle?
Well, I think I won't give it away yet, but I think that JT has it sitting at 3, and I think Mike has it at 6.
Dang, dude! I said
Okay.
JT. I said JT had it at 3, and you had it at 3 as well, Kyle. That was my
wow.
that was my guess. Yeah, I actually guessed both of you at 3. So
Wow.
all right.
Okay.
All right. JT, you want to reveal first?
Well, dare I say it, as great as this album is, this might seem like a crime for some people to say this. I actually have it at number 5. Believe it or not, I had this at number 5. It's lower than I expected too, but I had to put it at number 5. Kyle, where is it on your list?
This was at number 2 for me. Like I said earlier, nostalgia probably does a lot of heavy lifting on here. I mean, this is an album that's been a part of my life for 20 years now. So, Good point. You know, and there's something that we're going to notice this, and I'm going to discuss it almost as each album goes on. But I came to realize after listening back to all their records that it's very rare that Panic! At the Disco has an album to me that is consistent throughout. And I'll preface everything else by saying that. So yeah, number 2 for me. I
agree. And Mike, where is it on your list?
You nailed it. Yeah, 4. That's exactly where I had it, and I'm like,
wow, look at you guys go.
Funny that you said that.
Wait, so JT guessed both correct?
Wow, that's kind of crazy.
Bro is
I'm keeping track of the prediction counter here.
Please do, because at the very end we're gonna have our we're gonna end the sharing of screen with me, and then Kyle's gonna share what our rankings were, guessed, and our actual rankings too. But yeah, this is wow. I guess most of those right. I'm doing pretty good. This is pretty good. I'm feeling good about myself about something for once. All right. Anyways, that's A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. A solid record overall. Well, let's jump over to their next album, which was pretty odd? Question mark. In 2008, so 3 years after touring on A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, Panic! At the Disco went into their recording studio and made a man, oh man, what a move. You want to talk about musical transitions between albums? Like, there's only one other band I can think of that does this, and ironically enough, they're from Las Vegas or Nevada too. The Killers, just on a side note, the Killers made Hot Fuss, and then they went on to do Sam's Town. That's a crazy transition. If those you know out there know about that, good for you. But anyways, from A Fever You Can't Sweat Out to Pretty Odd in 2008. My God, this was. Am I still going first? Do you want me to go second, or
No,
you guys care at all? I'll go for it. Okay,
First it up.
all right, cool. Yeah, so basically, man, you want to talk about a transitional album in a career that really that would isolate fans of that original album. Even I'll get to that in a second, but I'll get to my cousin in a second who loves Panic at the Disco. It's funny. I'll just say it now. I remember asking her at one point. She said, "Hey, I just saw Panic at the Disco. What do you? I heard you like them." She said that the first album was great. The next 3 albums sucked. Death of Petra was okay, and I went on from there. I was like, "Oh shit, okay, cool." So that's her interpretation of all that. But yeah, she's more in the pop punk stuff personally. No, but Pretty Odd, man. It's almost like they took, and I'm not just saying this because it sounds like they made like a Beatles album or a Kinks album from like 1968 or like even like the Who or remember the Who, but like it's almost like they took Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band from the Beatles, their Satanic Majesty's Request by the Rolling Stones, the Village Preservation Society by the Kinks, and the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds and Smile Sessions, and mashed it all up and made this. That's the best way I can describe this album. For those of you who don't know anything about the albums I just listed by the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, the Kinks, and the Beach Boys, this was pretty much like that to a T. Like they went gung-ho crazy with weird titles, strange concepts, like songs like 9 in the Afternoon, That Green Gentleman, Things Have Changed, Northern Downpour, Folkin' Around, When the Day Met the Night. This is a very, very strange album. Needless to say, Mad as Rabbit's another one. I mean, there's a lot of, you want to talk about a deep cut album, this has got some really deep cuts on it, truthfully. But no, but needless to say, as I just said, it feels like they took Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band by the Beatles. It feels like they took their Satanic Majesty's Request by the Rolling Stones. It feels like they took the Village Preservation Society by the Kinks and the Beach Boys psychedelic era Pet Sound stuff, and basically made an album like that. If that's hitting the nail on the head there, because like with songs like 9 in the Afternoon, That Green Gentleman, the lyrical and sound change to this band was so 180. It was just a huge 180, like from the sound, like incorporating the piano instead of a keyboard, incorporating a tinny, maybe not tinny, but just like lighter tone guitar sounds, like a little more like on That Green Gentleman. It's like the harmonies in there too. There is so much on this record that I didn't realize how much I enjoyed it, but obviously the big hit single was 9 in the Afternoon, which is just still played a lot, not maybe on radio, but just it's got streaming numbers that are decent on Spotify. But man, like there's this might be the most inconsistent album though, but all of the songs sound, I did a jump with my words there, sorry about that. All the songs sound very much of the late 60s, and that's something I've grown up with more than Panic at the Disco. As a band, I've grown up with that sound a lot more. Just within my family, within my circle of like the Beatles, the Kinks, the Stones, some of the Who, Beach Boys. I was raised on that. Even Chuck Berry, Johnny B. Good and all that. But this is definitely even Bob Dylan to extend it, like with Folkin' Around or Northern Downpour. Man, this is just a crazy album to get into, and it was a complete departure from that pop punk sound completely. Like I feel like at the time, most people were like, "This is Panic at the Disco." No, this is Panic at the Disco. I feel like they're like arguing amongst themselves, like what is the best album at the time. And I mean, we got, and we'll move on from there. But Kyle, that's what I have to say about the pretty odd. What's your take for pretty odd? I mean, it is pretty odd. So
Yeah, my thoughts on this one have shifted many ways over the years. When this came out, I was in the camp that was like, what the hell is this? This is not what I want. At the time, this is not the style of music I listened to at all. Since then, I came to appreciate it way more over the years. You hit the nail on the head with specifically the Beatles' influence on this. I mean, pretty direct comparison between this and Sgt. Pepper's, that right down to the whole 9 in the afternoon music video, essentially just being them in the Sgt. Pepper's outfits, whatever. That's a great song. 9 in the Afternoon is great. Northern Downpour is a fantastic song. Very well written ballad there. I love that song. Yeah. Poking Around is good. There's a couple, gems on here. Overall, it's got some great songs. It has some filler songs on it too. For a while, maybe like 8 years ago or so, this did right up there as my favorite Panic album for a while. Throughout the years, and re-listening, I'm like, it doesn't hold up as well as I wanted. It's an album I have to be kind of in the mood to listen to. Conceptually, I think it kind of falls apart and overstays its welcome a bit. It does the job thematically of sounding cohesive, but I kind of get a little sick of it toward the end there in one listen. This is an album I'll go back. I usually nowadays cherry pick some songs to listen to from it. So, I respect the change in style here. I do vividly remember the time where this came out and everyone just decided we hate Panic at the Disco now because this is not what we wanted. I was never that against it. I didn't think it ruined the band for me. But it was definitely an interesting place for them to go following A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Entirely different sounds. I do much prefer the inclusion of piano over, piano and like more orchestral elements over the electronic aspects that were in A Fever You Can't Sweat Out, especially the 2005 sounding electronic elements that were in that one. So yes. Some welcome changes overall, hit or miss.
Mike, you love the Beatles, right?
Oh yeah. Encountering this album, it was kind of a surprise. You hear a lot of different elements of music from the 60s and maybe even like an early 70s funky kind of feel to it at times. And you really appreciate the album's honor to that style of music. One thing does come kind of certain during this album is the songwriting isn't the best. It definitely shows off its knowledge of different applications of music from this time, almost in an attempt to convince you that everybody in this band, as well as Brandon Urie, is well versed in understanding musical theory and like the history of music. And a lot of it feels like a tribute to that era without really truly grasping a truly like super interesting song outside of like 9 in the Afternoon I've heard it before. It's not one of my favorite songs, but it's I like that some of the Brandon Urie overdoing his vocals, overdoing his style were kind of a little more subdued, which gives it plus numbers. And it does do a lot of different things, but once again, I think where it just isn't able to really hit a home run is it's like songwriting just never really resonated with me. That really stuck with me. I just enjoyed the sounds that they were presenting. I enjoyed the interpretation of like an old sound and a modern kind of execution, like with a blend of like a modern flair. It was kind of cool to see them pull that off and actually pull that off pretty well. So yeah, I appreciated it for that, and it was like a welcoming, less crazy ADD-esque type of album as the previous album had done. So yeah.
All right, well, those are our takes for the album. Now I'm gonna say I'm gonna say that Mike has. We're good, right? I can give my guesses, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm gonna say that Kyle has this at number 4, and I would say Mike has it at number 5. Kyle.
I had on here, I put JT having it at number 4 and Mike having this at number 2.
And
And
I
Mike?
had you guys both say this was your number 2, but after listening to you talk about it, I feel like I would have re-guessed that. It's kind of interesting. I guessed it ahead of time, and then hearing you talk about it now, I don't feel so confident in thinking this is your number 2 album. So, unfortunately, I did say you both said it was your number 2.
All righty. Well, in reality, Mike is pretty close, actually. I think you Kyle, you said mine was number 4, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We believe it or not, you both. I have to meet you both in the middle. Mine is at number 3. For Panic at the Disco. Pretty Odd is my number 3 album by them, mainly because of the experimentation on it. But that's just me. Yeah. And Kyle, where's yours at?
This one, JT, again, hitting the nail on the head with your guess. That's 3 in a row for you.
Man,
This is my number 4. This is my number 4.
Wow,
Over time, it's just kind of gone up and down in my rankings, and it's just settled directly in the middle. It's a good album. Nothing wrong with being number 4. It's a good album. I agree with Mike on some of the things that he just said in his discussion about it, where he's talking about how aspects of the songwriting aren't necessarily there all the time, but the sounds are kind of nice. It's song for song on here, so exactly in the middle. 3 for 3, JT. Let's see if you can keep it going. Mike, what do you got?
Mike, what do you got?
For me, this was number 3 for me. In a catalog full of music that goes into areas I don't want it to go in, it was refreshing to listen to an album that went into an area that I wanted it to go in, but not necessarily musically memorable in that manner. So like I could listen to this album as I'm driving and not remember a single song, but enjoy the elements of that it brings, and that it does some kind of funky little things and whatever that remind me of music from the past, and it leaves me with a pleasant feeling like, it's nice to have somebody reuse like some of the different techniques that you use in music to kind of revive a sound. Will I remember them? Probably not, but I was enjoying them at a drive or wherever. So yeah, it was hard to place it because not a lot of this music I really like. So, but this one I enjoyed for its simple aesthetic. So yeah, number 3 for me.
All righty, you heard it here first. That's our ranking and rating for Pretty Odd. Let's jump over to their 2011 album, Vices and Virtues. It's not Virtues. Is it Virtues? I'm sorry. It's Virtues, right? I'm not misreading that. Okay, good. Thank you. I'm not dyslexic. I promise. I just want to make sure we're good here. Man, you want to? I'm just keep the train going then. So listen. So you have A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. You have Pretty Odd, and then you kind of, you don't necessarily go back to your emo punk roots, but you make an album that has kind of a little bit of both, like some orchestrations on some songs. You have some songs that have like, a little bit harder guitar or an interesting or instrumentation on there too. Trying to say that 5 times fast. I will say I forgot. I didn't realize that Butch Walker produced this. I was not. We have our own feelings about Butch Walker. We're not going to go into it now, though. But yeah, he's not on our nice list. Let's put it that way. No, but this is it's a unique album to say the least, because it's kind of like, let's take the best of the best from Pretty Odd, like some strings and some other instrumentation, and let's incorporate some more rock elements into it, like such like the Ballad of Mona Lisa or Ready to Go, Get Me Out of My Mind, or even Let's Kill Tonight. And Let's Kill Tonight, I will say, is very underappreciated by most standards, I would say. I just want to find the track listing here for a second. There we go. Yeah, this is, and it's actually a shorter album too, because the last two are like 35, 40 minutes. Then Pretty Odd was like 48 minutes or whatever. So this is a shorter album, needless to say. But no, this is a really, it's a unique album to say the least. And I'll get to the calendar in a second. But just some of this, so the main three that really stand out to me personally are the opener, The Ballad of Mona Lisa, just a really solid rock song from like 2011. Really great track overall, needless to say. Let's Kill Tonight. I love how it ends. It's just him going, oh, at the very end, like with the O's in music. But then like there's some strings at the very end that are just so good. Like really just strong string section. Not section, but just strong string elements in the back there. Really solid overall. And Ready to Go. It killed live. It's funny. I was listening to it on Spotify, and I could still see him performing it live when I saw them back in 2018. It's like I was taken back to that day in July of 2018. I was like, oh yeah, I'm seeing Panic at the Disco. No way. So cool. But outside of that, like I just want to bring this up for a second. There was talk at one point that the song, The Calendar, he re-recorded it as a metal song, like actually like a deathcore metal song with him singing it too. If you could find that video on YouTube out there, it is something. I don't know if you've ever heard of that version of The Calendar, but you know,
Oh yeah, I was gonna discuss it here. Don't you worry.
Oh, good. Because I mean, that was that when I first heard that, I was like, oh my god, there's gonna be a charting metal song on the Hot 100 now because of Panic at the Disco. Let's be real. No, that didn't happen, of course. Well, it may you never know one day, but still, a solid record overall. It's a good record. It has a lot of good, some filler in there, but let's jump over to Kyle for a second. I've gone off on this too long. Kyle, Vices and Virtues, buddy. What do you got for this record here?
Yeah, I mean, this is a welcome return to form in quite a few ways without going back to some of the aspects that I don't think aged necessarily that well in their first record. Very much early 2010s pop punk pop on this one for sure. It's an interesting album though in that this is a very rare album that I feel is incredibly backloaded. It starts off great with The Ballad of Mona Lisa, awesome song. I don't like Let's Kill Tonight. I don't like Hurricane, and I think Trade Mistakes is not one of their best songs either. They're not three of their worst, but they're an interesting group of songs. Now, the one that you might notice I left off of that was Memories, which is an incredible track. I love this. I think this album is where I really think that they came into their own, specifically Brendan, as a lyric writer. I think the lyrics on this album are leaps and bounds on some of the tracks here, not all of them, but leaps and bounds better than previous records, for sure, without a doubt. Memories being one of them. But once you get past Trade Mistakes, that whole second half, starting with Ready to Go, incredible. Great songs, the entire second half. I would have reordered this track list if I was them, because at first, when this album first came out back in the day, I didn't give it too much listens. I'm going to be honest. It's that effect. You start listening to an album, you get like 5 songs in, you're like, I'm bummed out. Like, this isn't what I wanted. And, but over the years, it's just grown on me. Always is such a nice little song. The Calendar is insane. It's so good that I still want him to put out a good quality version of that metalcore version he had, because it sounded really good. I think he did on like a Twitch stream once. He played it in the background while talking. So I mean, you know what? If you're not going to tour or be a writing music anymore, just throw it out there. You have it recorded, throw it out there, Brendan. That's all I gotta say. But yeah, interesting album. Interesting. It's very backloaded, but the songs that are good on here are really, really good.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. But let's see what Mike has to say. Mike, what do you think about this 2011 Vices and Virtues, buddy?
As always, Kyle, we're opposite. I think the front of the album is the best, and the last songs are the ones I don't like. I mean, if it couldn't be that way, then I would be worried. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this album, and I was actually kind of shocked that I enjoyed this album. It gave me Silverchair, like diorama album vibes. Excuse me. Silverchair diorama vibes. It gave me Killer vibes. It had that kind of feel to it, almost alternative rock-esque type of vibes, which is right up my alley. Brandon Urie is behaving with being Brandon Urie. Try not to be like he's going for world's like longest high pitched note he can rattle off at a time, and he stays within an acceptable range. And I mean, that's in my eyes, that's the best Panic at the Disco album you can have, is Brandon Urie like not going overload. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed the first couple like 3-4 songs. After that it kind of lost me a little bit, there's a couple sprinklings in between that. But yeah, it's actually one of the better albums I think of the entire discography. So yeah.
It's discography, Mike. No, I'm just kidding. Discography. No,
I refuse.
No. But needless to say, this is overall it's a good album. The question is, where do I think Kyle put it, and where do I think Mike put it? I already said, Mike. Kyle, if I'm not saying, I already said 3 and 4, correct?
Not for me. You said 2 and 4 for me.
Oh, it's a 2. I wasn't sure which one it was. Man, oh man, I'm gonna say for I'm gonna say for Kyle, this is his number 4, and I'm gonna say for Mike, it was his number. And Mike, you said what did I give you so far? I'm sorry.
You already guessed number 4 for me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. All right. Cool. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna go reverse. I'm gonna say Mike. I'm gonna say this is your number 2. Okay. And I'm gonna say for Kyle, this is his number. I didn't give you 3 yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay, I'm gonna say this is your number 3. So 2 and 3. Anyways, Kyle, what do you got?
I had this one down. I thought JT, I thought you would put this in number 5. Mike, I had this in number 3 for you.
All right, Mike, what do you got?
And for JT, I had this as your number 4, and I had Kyle as number 6.
Ooh, okay. Well, Mike is right with mine. It is my number 4.
Yes.
It is. Boom. There. And Kyle, what? And yours is at where?
This is number 3 for me. Again, the JT has gotten 4 out of 5. Right.
Yeah, JT's on fire, man.
I just know Kyle so well.
I'll just reveal it is my number 2 album. So JT, I hate you right now. Something is wrong with you.
See, I have mine all written down here. After hearing you talk, Mike, I was like, shit, I gotta put this in number 2. But I gotta be honest. I gotta be honest with it.
Just throw me up.
I hear you, brother. I hear you.
He's no longer right. Nano Menace, we're doing good. Wow, on fire, literally. So, all right, we're gonna jump over to their next album, which was, man, I don't know. It's coming off of the success, quote unquote, or at least I guess the return to form, so to speak, of Vices and Virtues. Let's jump over to Too Weird to Live, Too Weird to Die. And I'll just keep going forward as the first one here. But this is a very, it's rock, but it's like 2010s pop rock more than anything else. Needless to say, you can tell why the Butch Walker is not my favorite right now, because he produced this record. It is. There are elements of guitar in here. There's some really good lyric writing on this record too. But as an album, it doesn't really hold up to me as like a super popular. I don't say popular. It's just a solid record overall. Like, it's just, there's a lot of filler in here. Like, there's I'm not going to give it away. We keep our show PG-13 for a reason. But what I will say is that Girls, Boys is about Brendan Urie's first threesome. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. That actually like is about his. He said that on record at one point, so that's true. Vegas Lights, his lifestyle. This is gospel, man. When I first put on This Is Gospel recently for the first time in a long time, I forgot how much I love that song. I love This Is Gospel. Such a little dark, little like sinister feel to it, but still needs to say really just a solid song overall that I love. I love the piano version on the live album they released for the Death of a Bachelor tour much more than the original version, because it's just him on a piano singing this. It's really got a lot of emotion to it. And if you've ever heard the solo acoustic, just like This Is Gospel on the piano, check it out. It is really, 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 really something beautiful. Truthfully, Miss Jackson, kind of boring, but Nicotine, it's just there. then unfortunately, I feel like Kyle's going to reiterate what I'm going to say, but the last, starting with this album, every single Panic at the Disco album ends with a song that's very like emotional and depressing. I don't know if it's depressing or just moving. It's very like a piano ballad or something quieter. Like I don't know, it's just this one. The End of All Things led to the next album, which led to Pay for the Wicked, and like as far as the last song on the record goes, like it's always just something that's like something like so dark or like down. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? So, but it's interesting to say the least, but it's definitely not up there. It's got its unique feels for sure of like synthesizers and pop, but it's not my. I don't know. It's just I don't go back to it as much as I used to. I used to love this record. Now as I've gotten older, I'm like, maybe not. Outside of This Is Gospel, that's really all I got. I mean, when I would go back to an heartbeat, This Is Gospel. When I go back to Vegas Lights, not really. When I go back to Girls, Boys, probably not. But no, this is just a step in a weird direction for Panic at the Disco. I'm with Kyle. What I know that we talked about this at 1.2, but what do you got for Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die?
Yeah, this is one that I remember getting it the day it came out. I didn't listen to any of the singles beforehand, and turned on This Is Gospel and like, okay. I'm gonna be honest. This Is Gospel is a top 5 Panic song for me. I think it's a insanely well written, incredibly well performed song, especially that piano version.
Mm-hmm.
Great song. And then Miss Jackson kicks in. I'm like, okay, this is a good song. It's not my favorite. Vegas Lights, again, good. And then the rest of the album's just kind of there. Very disappointing from here on out. It's like he just wanted to do this like darker electro pop, like electronic thing, like almost in like the vein of like a Depeche Mode type record. And
right,
sometimes it does well, other times it doesn't. I mean, I don't think there's anything on here that is like bad, for for anything. A lot of it's just more like background type songs. I really don't like Girls, Boys. It actually just annoys me. Just thinking about the way he sings the chorus just like grates on my ears.
yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's a fine album. Right at when you get past the first 3 tracks, those are the only ones I take away from this really at all. The rest is just filler. It's there. Again, just to reiterate, I respect the hell out of the fact that the guy just has decided to try so many different things and managed to stay relevant in just about all of them that he has done. But this one, way more misses than hits on this one.
Unfortunately, that's true for me and Kyle. But Mike, this is your number one, right, Mike? It's your best Panic at the Disco. Oh, no, I'm kidding. What do you got?
And it's funny because the least Panic of the Disco sounding album, when it comes to, like I said, here we're following this formula. The least sounding Panic at the Disco album tends to be something that I like more, and it's interesting. Current Mike likes a lot of EDM, lots of electronic music, and I hated that music back in the day. So I found a lot of these songs like very kind of enjoyable to listen to, and the EDM-esque, the electronic, the synth, the like simple, generic, and cliche actually was a nice breath of fresh air from the over theatrical, over load, over kind of just input from this band. So I really enjoyed like Far Too Young to Die. Thought that was a great song. Like it's as simple as it is. I like what it does there. All the whole back end of the album I actually really enjoyed. Some of the ones at the top were they're decent too. I mean, across the board, it's just I feel like the less it's like the band, the more I want to like it. So yeah, it's just like kind of my takeaways from it. I didn't expect something like this to be put out at this point in the band's career.
All right, you heard that's Mike's opinion and take on Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. I think for Kyle, I think this is his number 6. I think based on what Mike said, again, I don't know. I'm gonna say you have it. I gave you number 2 yet or no? I haven't kept track yet.
I haven't kept track of anything, so Kyle's keeping track.
Kyle's keeping track of it.
I
Kyle,
only kept track of the ones that have been guessed correctly, so I don't.
Okay,
man,
that's
no.
fine. That's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna say that this is Kyle's number 6, and oddly enough, Mike, I'm gonna say this is your number 2.
You already said that. I think you said, didn't you
Oh,
say that?
damn it! Sorry.
Yeah, you did get that one right. You got Mike. You got Mike's 2 and 4 correct.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna, in that case, I'm gonna say it's number 3 for him, because there's the one spot left open. But yeah, so Kyle's number 6 and Mike's number 3. Kyle, where do you think I got it?
This one I put for JT actually also number 6, and for Mike I had put this at your number 4. And that spot's already filled for you here, but that's where I guessed it. So I know I'm wrong on that.
Mike.
Yeah, and for me, I said you guys both said this was your number 5.
Wow. Okay, so for me, believe it or not, this is number 7.
Woo!
I know, stinker. And that's hard to say because I love This Is Gospel and I love that one song. But do I go back to the rest of the album? No, outside of all the albums, the only one I really go back to the most is This Is Gospel. Well, that's me. And Kyle, where do you have it?
This is Mike. You got it, number 5 for me.
Yeah.
Broke the track record. It's all right.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Kyle's number 5. And Mike, where's the rank for you?
Believe it or not, it's my number 1 album. So now I want to say, it is a hair away from Vices and Virtues being just as good, if not better than it. Once again, I will note the audience, I will note everyone listening, including you two. You cannot find truly where you feel an album is in just a week or two's listen. It's gonna take it could take me 10 years to figure out that an album may very well have just changed. Most likely not. I would say 90% of the time I know how I like an album, but there is a possibility that it could slightly change. Maybe it won't go from like a 5 to a 10, but it will change as time goes by. But yeah, like they're almost interchangeable, Vices and Virtues, and this album. I enjoyed the simplicity and the like memorability of the melodies, almost just kind of the down tune, the kind of like the least Panic of the Disco-esque sounding thing made me want to like add a bunch of them to my EDM playlist. And even in the ones I didn't like, they didn't annoy me. I think that was the biggest point. They didn't annoy me. So I think that was a very big takeaway that I enjoyed, when I listened to it.
Wow. What?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right. Wow. That's I'm okay. I swear. No, I'm just kidding. No, that's our ranking for Too Weird to Live, Too Weird to Die. Now, coming off of that, they in 2015, 2016, as I mentioned, it was 2015, yeah. Wow, 10. Dear God, no, it was my senior year of high school. It was January of 2016, so it was my senior year of high school. But it was recorded in April of 2015. For those of you who don't know, Kyle and I already did a review of this one album, Death of a Bachelor. We did it back in 2022. So if you want to just know our initial take on the album, you can go back and listen to that episode of Career Retrospectives right there and listen to what we have to say about that this record on there. But yeah, this was my introduction to the band. This is my introduction to Brendan Urie's vocals, all the above, and the greatness that was Panic at the Disco. That kind of still is. I just want to say this, Pop. I know you're listening to me. Thank you. Because my grandfather, he got into them too because of the title track, because it sounds like Frank Sinatra. Yeah, but my rest in peace. We love you, Pop. But no, he got into them, and when I saw them on the prayer for the record store, I was like, "Oh, tell him I said hi." I'm like, because I have to tell the story really quick with Death Matcher. He swore up and down that Brendan Urie played at a car show in 2006 somewhere nearby. He swore up and down. He's like, because when I showed him pictures, like that guy, I know that guy. I'm like, he died, so I'll never know for sure. But like basically, he swore up and down, left and right, that he saw Brendan Urie as Panic at the Disco. I love them. And when my friend, he was up at the house one day, and like my friend's over, like he's like he came up to them. He's like, "Have you heard Panic at the Disco's song Death of a Bachelor?" And I'm like, "Pop, what are you doing?" It was great. It was a really cool story. But he got into him, and I sent him videos and stuff of Brendan Urie playing Death of a Bachelor live when I saw him live back in 2018. But no, this was a surprise for me, incorporating, and I'm not just saying because it's on here, but jazz, pop rock, guitar rock, really cool drum parts at some point, and some R&B here and there with some tracks, weird tracks too, but they fit the context of the album. And this is their most streamed album on Spotify, needless to say. But yeah, and I just he obviously, because at the time Frank Sinatra had just turned 100. He would have turned 100 that year in 2015. He would have 110 in 2025. Kind of scary. But needless to say, though, he wanted to. He put together something that I think is very, very special in Death of a Bachelor, and I think truly was the soundtrack of that time period of 2015, 2016. I was like, damn, this is just a solid record overall. Just one of my favorites. And it should have won Grammy of the Year, damn it, for Best Rock Album. God damn it. We talked about this too. The Grammy nominees that year were Blink-182's California for Best Rock Album. California, Panic at the Disco's Death of the Bachelor, and I think Cage the Elephant won for whatever album that was. Dear God. What? Just no. Sorry, Cage the Elephant. And I like Cage the Elephant too, but no. No, but I just songs like Victoria, songs like that don't threaten me with a good time. Hallelujah, which by the way, I think Kyle and I talked about this too. Hallelujah has a sample of the band Chicago, questions 67 and 68. I don't know if you ever knew that, but that's what that sample is at the beginning, and then it merges into the song. Some great lyrics on here, solid tracks overall. Some of my favorite songs of modern rock are on this album, but there's some downfall. Like the last three songs, like I'm not saying they're bad songs. They're like 6s or 7s if we were gonna rank them. The Good, the Bad, the Dirty, and Has Some Memories. For whatever reason, Has Some Memories like shot up because of TikTok again. So there's that. And again, he ended the album on a really loud vocal-esque, but a very kind of sad song with Impossible Year. It's like, okay, sure. And I know I've talked for a little bit now, but Kyle, before I let you go, my grandfather, I played him this album from start to finish, and he said, "This guy Brendan Urie, he's like a new Frank Sinatra." I'm like, I know. It's great. Interesting. I mean, that's a very bold statement there, Pop. But I know you're looking down, being there, smiling yourself sick right now. But still, no. Anyways, I've gone on this album too long. Kyle, where do you rank and talk? Not rank, but what are your take on Death of a Bachelor?
I mean, yeah, I'm not going to go super in depth on this. People could check out the other video we did on it. Yes. But this album is what got me fully back into Panic at the Disco after, years. Yeah, I kept up with them throughout the whole time, but nothing really hit as hard as, Fever You Can't Sweat Out as a whole album until this one. And this is the I may spoil my ranking here. This is the only album of theirs that I thoroughly enjoy every song front to back. I think this is a masterpiece of an album. I think this is Brendan Urie's vocals.
There goes my ranking. All right.
Yep. Sorry, Mike.
Sorry, Mike.
This one, I honest to God think this is his best vocal performance. I love the crooning vocal he does on Death of a Bachelor and Impossible Year. I wish he did that more. I would listen to a whole album of songs like that from him, which is kind of where I was thinking the band when at this point in his solo career at this point, I thought that's where the Panic at the Disco name would go. We'll get into it in the next couple albums that was not correct. It also has, and I can't talk about this album without mentioning this, has the best misheard lyric of all time on the song LA Devotee. There's no shot that he is not saying sweaty balls on the desert sky. No way. I refuse to believe that's not what he was originally singing, and then just wrote some other words in the liner notes to be like, I'm going to make clear I'm not saying that. But anyway.
It's not swimming pools? No, I'm just
I love this album. I think that is the best era as a whole for this band for me. Songs like Crazy Equals Genius. That song is just chaotic as hell, but it works so well. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is probably the closest, or Good, Bad, and the Dirty. It's like the closest that I feel we've gotten to like that old original sound from them in ages. And Golden Days, just a really really nice song to looking back on. And it only downside I have on this is Hallelujah was my alarm in college for a while, for about a semester. So I do get a little bit startled by it now, and I think that it's time to wake up for class whenever I hear it. But yeah, I love this album.
Mike,
join us. This album was not an enjoyable experience for me. Sorry. It definitely had moments of flashes of interest. Golden Days was actually a pretty decent track. LA Devotee was a decent song. I'll be honest with you, when they pulled out Chicago in that song and then cut it off to go into that ear grating part, it really made me mad, because it felt like a smack in the face of Chicago, to just take that clip and then just hit me with that song. So I was not a fan of what they did with that. I appreciate the nod to Chicago, legendary music act, but I just was not a big on that one. Other than that, it was just too bombastic, too much it's back to the kind of Brandon Urie experience that I was kind of saying. I just can't say I really superly enjoy. But other than that, it has moments that I enjoyed, but other than I just couldn't really get super behind it.
all righty. Well, that's our take on Death of a Bachelor. I'm gonna say, for my ranking, we're guessing where it's gonna go for Kyle. I think this is your number 1, and for Mike, I think this is your number 6.
For JT, I put this down as your number 1, and Mike, I know I'm absolutely wrong on this. I thought there's no way that Mike could not hear the genius in the album, so I put it at your number 1 as well.
Oh, wow. Interesting. For me, I put it down as JT's number 1, and I put it as Kyle's number 4, which I know by his review is not true.
All right. Well, listen, this is my number 1. You both are right on that. I know, big, bold, beautiful words right there. Crazy, hard to believe, but it's hard to, I've gone on enough tangents. But yeah, Kyle, where does this rank for you?
Number 1.
Number 1.
I'm wrong for sure. And this is number 5 for me.
Number 5.
Not number 1. You sure you don't want to amend your list?
Nope. I'm sorry. No offense to anybody who likes it. Also, memories of Pop there. I appreciate his interest in it too. But, yeah.
Mike, join us.
I'm sorry. I can't.
Join us at this creme. No, it's just kind of all right. Anyways, let's talk about. So that's Death of a Bachelor. Now let's talk about let's talk about Pray for the Wicked, or as I like to call it, Death of a Bachelor 2.0. I'm just kidding. Let's talk about it. This was the album cycle that I saw them on. Fun fact, and it is a really it's. I joke about saying that it's Panic at the Disco 2. Death of a Bachelor 2.0, but kind of is in a certain sense. It's very. There's a lot of pop on here. There's a lot of weird synth stuff, jazz stuff, and obviously has the big hit single "High Hopes" on here too. It has it's kind of an underrated track with like "Say Amen Saturday Night," which was like the original, like the first single that got released, and then it was "Hey Look Ma Made It," and then it was it was "Say Amen Saturday Night," "High Hopes," and "Hey Look Ma Made It," which dominated radios at the time. Crazy to believe. Now, me personally, as an album, Pray for the Wicked is a decent album with a very strong set of songs on here. Basically, there's a lot of really good tracks on here. Truthfully, there's a lot of really solid, like comical lines, like on. We're gonna swear in camera. F a silver lining. I'm not gonna curse, but F a silver lining. The one line that always gets me is Beyonce Lemonade, and then they blurt out the F with like an actual beep in the song. I thought that's just so cheesy and so amazing. Not cheesy, it's genius. It's clever. And then you go into Say Amen Saturday Night. That's just a solid song overall. I forgot how much I love that track. Hey Look Ma, I Made It, and High Hopes kind of go back to back, like talking about like inspiration, doing your best work. Don't fail, don't give up, continue on, all the above. And then I'm kind of like peters up with like Roaring 20s. Dancing's Not a Crime is pretty good. One of the Drunks, The Overpass, Forgettable. When I first heard, what was it? Old Fashioned, I was like, are we back in like the medieval times? With like the whip of the crack of the whip. King of the Clouds is okay. I like that one a little bit. But and again, he ends another album with Dying in LA, which is like a literal, like, just like, it's a piano ballad of strings and stuff. And this record it's very, very, very front loaded up until High Hopes, which is like, the first 4 tracks, and then I could throw Dancing's Not a Crime in there, and then King of the Clouds, and you could put Dying in LA in there too. But that's just me. But no, Kyle, what do you got for Pray for the Wicked?
As someone that was once a defender of this album, I'm turning it around. The first 4 songs on this album, very good. The last song, great. Everything else between, don't like it. And
okay,
I think that how much I liked those other songs really clouded that for me for a long time. Roaring 20s, One of the Drunks, 2 of my least favorite Panic songs of all time, right here. I think they are bad songs. I don't like them. Dancing's Not a Crime is so corny, but in like the worst way. Usually I like corny fun things. This one is just so agitating and so it's just so corny. I can't stand the lyrics. Even the sound of it just drives me nuts. Never liked King of the Clouds. That whole stretch until Dying in LA doesn't do it for me. It really just falls super flat, especially like going back, revisiting them. It's like, oh yeah, there's a reason I don't go back to any of those 5 songs. It's Death of a Bachelor's colorful, upbeat sibling. And, mostly for the worse, I would say. Dying in LA brings back those, slightly brings back those like crooner style vocals from like the Death of a Bachelor and Impossible Year from the previous record. Again, wanted more of that from this album. Didn't get it. But, High Hopes, great song. I don't care what people say about that one. I know it got kind of overplayed on the radio. Really well done song. There's a reason it got so popular. And Hey Look Ma, I Made It. Super fun. really like that one as well. Those are definitely my two highlights of this. But yeah, as someone who used to be quite the defender of this album, taking off the revisiting it now, taking off those recency goggles, and yeah, did not hold up like I thought it did at all.
Yeah. And Mike, what do you got for Prayer for the Wicked?
Yeah, this album was horrible. I'll be honest with you, it was awful. And I mean it is a symptom of awfulness. Look at the personnel. How many hands are in making these songs? I mean, it just goes along with generally the more people involved, it just kind of shows that the band doesn't really know what they're going for. As Kyle knows, I'm not a fan of comedic kind of stuff in music because I don't like fun. But right, Kyle, come on, Kyle.
Mike hates fun.
Mike hates
Mike
fun.
hates fun. Well, I am gonna get a shirt. I wanted to announce this audience. I'm gonna go have a custom made shirt that says Mike hates fun, and wear it when I do not like an album. Instead of putting the villain or whatever, I'm gonna put Mike hates fun on it. Stay tuned for that. But it's just too much. Again, it's just really trying to be quirky and hey, look at me, like I'm doing all kinds of weird little things are going on in each song. It just I mean, from the first song down to the last, it was a real marathon to get through. Nothing I want to hear from a band who originally started to have much more like substance in the idea of a genre that they were kind of presenting, be it electro synth, be it 60s, be it more the cabaret, whatever style emo, to come to an album that literally does not present a sound. It just does a bunch of different things. Definitely did not sit well with me.
Alrighty. Well, excuse me. Yeah, you heard it here first. That's Mike's reaction and not rating a ranking, but it was a small little rating of it. I'm gonna say Kyle put this at number 5, unless I lost track. Did I put number 5 for you or no?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna say this is your number 5. I'm gonna say for Mike, this is your number 6.
I had this one at number 2 for JT and number 5 for Mike.
Mike?
And for me, I had JT putting this at 7, and I had Kyle putting this at his number 1 because I hated it so much that I was like, Kyle must love it. I literally went off of that. If I hate it, he loves it. So I was doubling down on that.
All right. Well, for me personally, as much as I hate to say it, Kyle's right. This is my number 2. I know, because it's mainly the only defense it has are the first 4 tracks and the occasional Dancing Sign of Crime and Dying in LA. That's really it, though. But there's a lot of it's very, very front loaded, but those tracks on the front really hold it up that much for me because I have a lot more memories with this one because of the tour and stuff, whatever. But yeah, that's my number 2. And Kyle, where's the rank for you?
This is my number 6.
Ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and Mike,
and number 7.
Number 7.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Oh my God. Well, we only have one spot left for this next clunker. Needless to say, no. Let's be real, guys. All right, anyways, that's our rankings and ratings for Pray for the Wicked. We want to thank you for watching and listening. Harry and no, I'm just kidding.
We have one more.
I'm just joking. I know that was a joke.
Real quick, Mike, where did you put A Fever You Can't Sweat on your list?
I put it as 4.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Because Kyle is making his thing right there where he's like, oh yeah. So all right. Are we ready to talk about the last
Yep, go for it.
Operatic thing in this thing, or this last opera, whatever you want to call it? Viva Las Vengeance from 2022. It's funny, you dive in a whole band's career discography like we talk about here, and to go from Pray for the Wicked, which is now overall I liked quite a bit, overall. I mean, we just talked about it, literally talked about it, but still, man, it's such a disappointment. I like the style of music on it. I like the guitar work that he did. I'm not gonna go into too much because we did review it when it came out back in 2022. But yeah, this was he went out on this record. Like he decided to go out on this album here. Like, am I wrong? Sorry about that. Brendan Urie went out on this record. Like he actually ended it because he's retired. I don't think he's retired, but that's me. He went out on this record, like Viva Las Vengeance. I mean, really? Like I love the concept of it. Like he recorded on analog tape. He was trying to do stuff that sounded like. For those you don't, I'm gonna just repeat what I said to before. For those you don't know, I messaged a Panic at the Disco fan account at one point. I mean, like I want to say it was March of 2022, and I said, "Hey, just out of curiosity, you're a fan account. You're commenting on his post. What do you got?" He said, and he said to me, this guy over in the UK who runs a Panic at the Disco fan account, he said to me, "Yeah, look for something by June, and it's going to sound like Queen, the band Queen." And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure, whatever." And sure enough, he was right. Always trust those fan accounts, people, because this sounded a lot like Queen, but not in a good way. He tried making. I'm not going to go too much in depth with it, but he tried to make his own Bohemian Rhapsody or his own Night at the Opera, and it didn't quite work out in his favor. Unfortunately, it just didn't. This is a bit of a disappointment. A bit of a disappointment if you don't understand. This is a very, very much of a disappointment. Kyle, what do you got for? Because we did talk about it initially for when it first came out. But what do you got for Viva Las Vengeance?
Oh man, I hate this album more than I did when it came out. I actively dislike this album. Gonna be honest, I think it is a steaming pile of garbage. Everything about this album is unenjoyable, with the exception of Viva Las Vengeance, the title track, and Middle of a Breakup is not bad. Everything other than that, can't stand it. I think it's cool what he tried to do with we're recording straight to tape and all that, like great. But like the songwriting is not there. It's just a weird step, weird turn that I didn't expect, which I guess with this band you kind of grow to expect changes. This one is just not. There's nothing memorable here for me at all, especially coming from even the last one, even Pray for the Wicked, though, even though I didn't like about half that album, it had like some killer songs on it. It's like just some killer pop songs. This has nothing. This is a bad album. Even his voice, he doesn't do anything vocally memorable to make it stand out. Wow, just what a disappointment. I remember I actually had my wife and brother in the car the first time we heard this, and all three of us were like, "What the hell is this? This is bad." And it's a shame. It's a bad way to go out as a band or as an artist. I hope he does come back one day, and even if it's not under the Panic at the Disco name, just to try to do something else. I'm sure he's very proud of this. This album does have, they're few and far between, but it does have some defenders of this album out there. But yeah, I mean, it's an attempt to do Queen, a blatant attempt at it that just did not land, did not stick the landing.
Mike, was there any redeeming quality for this masterpiece or no?
This is an absolute ear shredding, just kind of disappointment. Like it really is. I mean, Brandon Urie absolutely trying to save the day with his just desperate vocal acrobatics that leave you absolutely just repulsed by how much it damages your kind of understanding of a song's kind of ability to just make it part of it. It's not part of it. It's just his him on a just belting out level and music that's just being forgotten in the past. The only song on this album that is remotely good is "Don't Let the Light Go Out." Very classic, old school kind of simple dance kind of song that kind of brings you back to like the 50s. Really enjoy it. Brandon Urie doesn't do Brandon Urie. Actually, a pretty solid song. Other than that, everything on this is just one big just endurance test to make it through without seriously throwing whatever's playing it out the window. So and I will say the Murder album, I can't think of it. I've already forgotten it. The one I gave the lowest rating. The difference between this and that album are like a hair. They could be interchangeable, as this could be the worst and that could be slightly better. They really are so close. But yeah, other than that, it was just a very, very like horrible album to have to go through and listen.
Unfortunately, we had to do it again because of this choice of mine
Yes.
to do the discography breakdown. But hey, we had to do it. To do the discography breakdown. I'm gonna say this is Kyle's number 7. I'm gonna say this is Mike's number 6. Kyle?
I had this as number 7 for both of you.
Okay.
And I think I had it set for 6 and 7. 6 for JT, 7 for Kyle.
Well, one of you is right for my ranking, and it's Mike.
Oh, hey, there you go.
So I had this number 6 because it sucks because I love them so much. I love his so much. Just to go out and an album like this is such a bad, depressing move, unfortunately. So but yeah, Kyle, what do you got?
Well, you're right. Number 7. You were both right on that. I'm sorry to say, I know it's harsh for this album, but I was trying to be more open to it when it came out. I didn't like it then, but man, I really hate it now, especially for it representing the last Panic album.
Yeah.
And I gave it a number 6, so you nailed it right there. 6 it was. And we had some comments, JT. I don't know if you saw in our chat.
Yes, I was sharing them as the screen was going on. I was also
Oh, okay.
I can share them on the screen, Mike. How cool is that? Vinny's Vinyl Room says Viva Las Vengeance is absolutely terrible. Could not agree with you more there, my friend. Their early stuff is mostly good to really good. After Death of a Bachelor, they should have disbanded. It's fair enough. And go out and how you could. And a good band that drifted away from their core. I agree with that. So a lot of changes though throughout their career, but still, either way. Yeah. So needless to say, though, that is our career discography breakdown for Panic at the Disco. We did all 7 albums. Kyle, where if you want to show your screen, we can go to the rankings in a second. So
yep, give me 1 second, pulling it up.
Any other concluding thoughts for Panic at all? I know they're reforming for the When We Were Young festival, but do any other last minute thoughts before we give our ratings?
Sure. I think for me, I wish they would, if they are going to come back, do it the right way. Do it in a way that's not, again, just Brendan Urie doing whatever Brendan Urie decides. I want to see them come back as an actual band again. Write songs together and just make it good. Do it right. Don't just come back to come back.
I agree. Mike,
and I think I would like to see them tackle another genre again, like they did with the previous albums. This one's a synth, dark pop, kind of, new wave. This one's a 60s. This one is. I'd like to see that mentality again versus just the smattering of just, like hip hop, theatrical kind of stuff that they started doing in the later end of their career that just didn't sit well with me. I'd like to see them come back in that manner. If not that I'm super excited about it, but if I have to listen to it, I'd like to see them take on, a genre.
If they ever put anything out again, Mike, we will be sure to force you to listen to it.
Yeah, I know. I'm cringing as I sit here.
Can you guys see that?
No, yeah. Let me disconnect for a second. There's one, and there's two. All right. You want to zoom in for a sec? There we go.
You guys can see it. We're good.
I can see it. Can you zoom in a little bit? I'm sorry. That's better. Yeah, that's good. Perfect. All right, Kyle, read them off. Number 7-1.
Yep, for me, Viva Lost Vengeance, Pray for the Wicked, Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die, Pretty Odd, Vices and Virtues, Fever You Can't Sweat Out, and at number 1, Death of a Bachelor. JT, you're up.
All righty, from 7 to 1, we have Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die. Number 6, Viva Lost Vengeance. Number 5, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. Number 4, Vices and Virtues. Number 3, Pretty Odd. Number 2, Pray for the Wicked. And number 1, of course, Death of a Bachelor. Mike, you're number 7 to 1.
Yes, 7 to 1. So number 7, Pray for the Wicked. Number 6, Viva Lost Vengeance. Number 5, Death of a Bachelor. Number 4, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. And rounding out the top 3, 3 is Pretty Odd. Number 2, Vices and Virtues. And my number 1, shocker pick, Too Weird to Live, Too Rare to Die.
Wow, this was quite the discography breakdown to do, gentlemen. But that is going to do it for us tonight doing this. Thank you so much for tuning to our podcast, as always. Thanks so much to our live viewers as well for just tuning in. By the way, I don't know if you guys noticed this, we actually had over 10 people. That might sound like a lot, but we had a lot of people tuning in from the moment we started the stream. So thank you all for watching and listening out there. Yeah, Kyle, the Q&A podcast is not back yet.
No, on hiatus. But I will give you an update on the prediction scoring for this episode before we leave.
Yes.
In last place was me. I got 2 right. Mike, you got 5 right. And JT got 7 correct.
Man,
wow.
JT.
I feel so happy. I feel like I'm Brendan Urie over here.
Taking over.
For Freddie, Brendan.
Let's hear a falsetto note for the viewers.
JT, you guessed 5 of my 7 correctly.
That's kind of scary, not gonna lie, dude.
Yeah.
Do I look lonely? Don't sue us.
All right, we just lost like 5 viewers. All right,
5 viewers.
We lost the back end of the entire of our viewership.
People are already turning off the podcast stream before we end it. Like, no. But we're gonna thank you for watching, listening, however you enjoyed that. Ultimately, this was a fun one to do this, and we're gonna spin the wheel. We're gonna figure out what we're doing next week. But please tune in next week for our next episode of Retrospectives right here in the Super Review Show Network. I want to enjoy really quick. I want to thank the 2 gentlemen for doing this career discography breakdown and podcast with you as always. Kyle and Mike, thank you very much for doing it. Your insight is unparalleled and incredibly awesome. Thank you. Woo! Woo! And but for all of us here at the Super Review Show, please stay safe, take care, and God bless.